Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Kagabine at the Garland County Library, and I'm here this evening with Charlie Moore, who should be over there somewhere, but he's the founder of the Highlands Folk Project. In a nutshell, the Highlands Folk Project's mission is to both entertain and educate people about old-time music, something Charlie, wherever he's at, Charlie, okay, he's extremely passionate about. Here at the library, we've been partnering with the Highlands Folk Project to host their events, and we successfully held 2 concert-type events back in early 2020 before the pandemic happened, and we unfortunately had to cancel our line of in-person events that was to follow, but we're finally rebooting tonight with the virtual format. So I want to give a warm welcome to anybody watching, whether it's live or you're watching the recording 2 weeks from now. So now, as always, with the library virtual event, if anybody has any questions or comments, you can drop them there in the comment section, and I'll read them off to our guest, aka Charlie Moore. If he ever shows up, well, there you are, Charlie.
Good evening. Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely. I see you brought your bow tie.
Well, I thought I would dress for the occasion. I had this or a pair of overalls that I would choose from, and I'm not wearing overalls, so okay. Welcome, everyone. The library the Garland County Library has been very generous and helpful in sponsoring the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project last year. It's almost a year to the day that we brought Tom and Jenny Sartain down from from Mountain View, Arkansas, the Ozark Folk Center, to entertain for 2 hours. And we're in the same room tonight. The stage is behind me that they were performing on. The auditorium was packed, 130 with a fire marshal capacity of 130, and there may have been a couple standing. And there was dancing and hooting and hollering, and it was a good time. So this is going to be a little bit awkward for me because it's just me and Paul. I'm at one end of the auditorium, and Paul is in the back end. So we're going to get started now. I want to give you a little bit of what to expect. The whole point of this is to help all of us explore, discover, and share old-time music, dance, and culture. And by explore, that's what Paul and I are going to do, is take you on a little trip down long-time history through the American music. Discover, and we hope you find some things that you enjoy and may pursue further. And also share, and that's us sharing what we're doing here, but it's very important for you to share as well. The Ouachita Mountains did have old-time music, and it was never documented, or it was very slightly documented. The Ozarks were the target of a lot of the song catchers or field recorders, and so it has a lot of history there. So if you live in the Ouachita Mountains or you had family in the Ouachita Mountains, please contact me and let me know if you know of a banjo under a bed or a fiddle or any pictures of family playing music, or there was really not much written music for old-time music, but any kind of memorabilia that might indicate that your family in a location in the Ouachita Mountains was involved in folk music, please contact me. The best way to do that is at our email address, and that's ARK Highlands, plural, Folk Project at gmail.com. ARK Highlands Folk Project at gmail.com. And we'll put you on our mailing list. We have almost 300 people who have been we've not lost anyone from the list. And so I think there may be some interest in this. Why don't we go ahead and get to the first song? I want to try not to make this too much of me talking. And the first group we're going to highlight tonight is Taller Than You. It's a group from actually the Ozark Folk Center. 2 of them are from Missouri, and the rest of them are from around the Mountain View area. Benjamin, Grace, Little Page, Grisham, Kaylee, and Chandler, and you will see those. And the song they're going to perform tonight is I've Endured, which has kind of become a theme song for the COVID virus. We're going to make it through it, and they're going to sing I've Endured. It was originally written by Ola Mae Reed, in the, well, we're not quite sure when she wrote it. It was first recorded in the early 70s, but it was written about the Great Depression. She was born in 1916 in North Carolina. So let's open the curtain, Paul, and listen to Taller Than You.
I started preparing for the competition up here. I started getting me ready, and 2016 I competed and got second, and I came back the next year, got second, and then 2018 when I met Kaylee, got first. So it's just it's been really fun getting to know everyone here, and just the music that thrives. It's the music that thrives here.
How is it compared to where you live?
It's really different. I don't really know anyone my age, so to say, that's playing this type of music. So up here, like 3-year-olds start picking up guitars and stuff and fiddles, and like you walk down the street, there'd be like an 80-year-old just sawing a fiddle.
Yeah,
it's so different. It's really different.
It is.
And I heard thunder roll. I've endured how long this one is. Could not close the soul. Sent to church on Sunday to learn golden rule. I've endured how long must one end? I've worked for the rich and I've lived with poor. I've seen many a heartache, I'll see many more. Lived, loved, and sorrowed, been to success's door. I've endured how long must one end? Born in the mountains many years ago, I've climbed these valleys through the rain and snow. Seen the lightning flash and I heard thunder roll. I've endured how long must one end? I've endured how long must one end?
With the name, if you'll notice, Kaylee, the the fiddle player, the Arkansas champion fiddle player, she and Benjamin are kind of challenging each other as who is taller, and that's how they came up with the name. They're both approaching 6'4". They are Benjamin's 17. We probably are going to have him on back in February to do a little interview of why young people are so interested in this music.
Charlie, you got a couple of audience questions about the instruments there.
Okay.
Brianna wanted to know what was the instrument in the middle, and Seal asked what was the large flat instrument.
Oh, okay. The one in the middle is a great question. Glad somebody noticed. Those were not original old time instruments, but they've been introduced by the younger set to give it a little more dimension in the music. It's a hammered dulcimer. You're going to see it again tonight with another group. The instrument on the far left is a dobro, and it's kind of a precursor to possibly another type of guitar, but it's just become an instrument that's used in old-time music. To that end, the original two instruments, and we'll talk about the history a little bit in a while, were the fiddle and the banjo. Fiddle first, then banjo, and then we came up with some other things. Good question. Thanks for sending that in. Is there another question?
Just those two about the question, instruments so far.
Okay, cool. Let's see. One thing I have discovered in this high tech, and before I start this description, one of the cultures of old time was storytelling. You know, Grandpa would always have a story to tell on the porch, and it would either scare the kids or it would be entertaining to the adults or anything. But anyway, Terry Diggs here in Hot Springs has shown his skill at storytelling at a number of Garland County Historical Society meetings. So if I tell something tonight and it sounds a little bit far-fetched, that's probably a story, okay? So just starting out, I got an app, and we want to try to determine how much you like our performers and how we're doing. This little app on this iPhone, it will, I don't know whether it's working through your Alexa or whatever, but it can determine whether you are applauding at home. It makes no sense to me. But anyway, if you would, let's just test this theory out. If you all would applaud right now, just please applaud, and let's just see what we come up with. I'm going to hold it up here so we can all see if it works. Okay, go. Okay, that's not very good. All right, everybody. Now, let's everybody applaud. Can everybody applaud, please? Okay, let's see. Good job. Okay, I think we're on to something. That's what we want you to do. Even if you're at home alone, you can dance, you can play an instrument or whatever. But now we can gauge how well we're doing tonight. So I'm glad we have that technology now. Our next band is. We said this band was from Northeast Arkansas and Southern Missouri. The next band is from the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. It is Brad and Ken Clodner, a father and son team. Rachel Eddy, a national championship fiddle player and banjo player and guitar player. Alex Lamalot, who is a upright bass player, and Patrick McAvee, the fiddle player. And they are pretty much stars in that area. And again, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area is a hotbed of old-time music. So they're going to play a tune called Hop High. And usually in old-time music, hop is referring to dance. And it's Hop High Ladies or Hop High Lulu or Hop High whoever. So let's get Brad and Ken and the group to show us their stuff.
Where did you get those high-top shoes and the dress that you wear so fine? I got my shoes from a railroad in Maine, the dress from a traveling man. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my little gal. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my little gal. You got that? Upon you my watch and upon you my chain, upon you my gold band and ring, all to pay my Lulu's fine. Upon you my wagon and my team. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my Lulu gal. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my Lulu gal.
I've been in the bed with the rough rowdy men. Honey, I'm going back again. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my Lulu gal. Hop high, hop high, hop high, my Lulu gal. Patrick McAvenue on the fiddle.
Okay, I just had a message, Paul, that someone was asking if we're having an audio problem, and I don't know that there's anything we can do or not, but if we are, we'll get it straightened out eventually. So bear with us. This is our first go round, and thank you for mentioning that. By the way, very good. My indicator just went off for Ken and the group. Another aspect of old time music, it was never really designed to be a audience, a concert. It was typically participatory, and it was pretty intimate. And it was there was a lot of ways that it came to play, but for the most part, it was small groups in very small, very rural areas where you might be building a barn or you might be shucking corn, and you'd bring all your neighbors over. And once the hard work was done that night, they would pull the fiddle player and the banjo player and a caller and have a big dance and basically a party. It was a way to kind of let up a little steam, and it started. We'll get to the history in a moment, but it started whenever the first immigrants came over here. We'll talk about that. The other thing is, while I'm thinking about this. Tomorrow night, same time, same place, the library is going to host another program. And they've hosted a number of these during the COVID epidemic to help fulfill their mission. And tomorrow night, Mary Zunick is going to have a program on our Hot Springs, Arkansas Sister City program. Our sister city is Hanamaki, Japan, and this goes back many, many years, but she has some special guests, and I think they're actually going to be using a little high-tech, too, to involve some folks from Hanamaki in the program. So don't miss that program tomorrow night. The next on our schedule was we meant to have Jenny and Tom Sartain from our last live performance in January last year, and we're already having some technical difficulties with that. So we're going to try to straighten that out and have it in our February meeting. So apologies to Tom and Jenny. They have been such a contributor to me. They've kind of taken me under their wing in introducing me to the music. 5 years ago, I didn't know what old-time music was, and now I can't get enough of it. And we'll go into some of the reasons for that possibly as we go on. Let's see, Paul, do you have anything else, any questions, or do we need to follow up on anything else?
Well, Charlie, 5 years, you went from 5 years from novice to an expert. How'd that happen?
Well, I know enough to be dangerous, and as we get into some of the history, my disclaimer is if anybody out there wants to challenge my history, this is going to be History 101 from Charlie. Google is a wonderful resource, and I've come up with some things I think might be of interest. But before we get to that, let's go to the old-time string band, and let me tell you about this. Let me back up just a little bit. I mentioned I know the kids that play in Taller Than You. I've seen them for the last 3 or 4 years when Kaylee was not 6'4". She was probably 5'6", and she's now 6'4". But in any case, there's a very intimate community that kind of watches out for each other and helps one another. Tom and Jenny, right off the bat, have been kind to me. Brad Kleidner taught me in a string band camp at Mountain View 2 or 3 years ago. Rachel Eddy, the lady that was playing the guitar, taught me in a string band camp in Alabama about 2 years ago. So there's a close connection, and we run into each other at various festivals and things like that, and how they remember who we are. But it's pretty cool that they're there, and they're always willing to spend time and share any of their knowledge with us beginners. The next band is the Old Time String Band, and I have not met them personally, but I've been communicating with by email for the last 6 weeks or so. They are, and there's Zun, they're from the Netherlands of all places, and talk about full circle. This music, our music, came from the British Isles and Germany and Western Europe, and blended with the African music that came from the slave population. This band, the Old Time String Band, I've been communicating, and I will after they play this song share a little bit of that communication. What we're doing here, though, is going to show you 2 different styles of the same song. The song is The Cuckoo, and it dates back to, some people say, the 15th century in France. And so a lot of these have kind of been regenerated through the years, and of course they've changed some, but there's some identity there. So let's listen to the Old Time String Band with the Cuckoo. And one other thing to mention is they are not able to play together, and this is a great example of making technology work for a band in bad circumstances. So why don't we roll that one, Paul?
On a building, log cabin, on a mountain so high, so I can see valleys as they goes passing by. Oh, she's a pretty bird, she waddles when she flies, she never hides till the 4th day of July. Ain't hungry, they won't eat your day. I'll take them, live further, I'll feed them on the way. Oh, she's paper, she wobbles and she flies. She never lies for good till the 4th day of July.
Okay. Again, just to personalize this a little bit, the female singer that was playing the guitar is actually her name is Shelley, and she was born in California and been in the Netherlands for over 25 years playing this music. That recording, each person recorded it in their own home. The banjo player, Rude, was in his studio. He's a painter, and if you notice behind him, there were some great portraits of cattle, which might tell you something too. The double bass player is who I communicated with, and that's Nico. And he was in his living room while his son was filming on a telephone. So Shelley was sitting in her garden. She played the fiddle, and Ton played the mandolin. So they have toured the U.S. and the U.K. a couple of years ago, and I hope someday that we will get them back over here so I can actually meet them in person. Now then, we're going to move to an old recording. I think the video recording was probably made in the late 50s, possibly the early 60s, and it's by Clarence Ashby. And he's going to play the same tune, and there's a little dialogue that's I get a kick out of him introducing the tune. But in any case, Clarence was born in when was he born? Well, in any case, he died several years ago, and this was actually, he was kind of a recording star for old-time music and early country music in the early 1930s, late 1929, 1930. The Depression hit, and it put almost all musicians out of business, and he had to go back to work in the coal mine and finally came out and did a business of his own. In the late 50s, when this recording was made, he was rediscovered, and he spent the last 5 or 6 years of his life performing at concerts. He played in Carnegie Hall, played at the Newport Jazz Festival, as well as other festivals across the country, and then shortly thereafter passed away. So let's watch Clarence Ashby's version of The Cuckoo.
But when you told Frank Buckman playing the last night,
I very well remember that. He set his glasses down on his nose, and he says, I want to hear one of them. I never heard a Lassie making tune. Well, I says, give me the banjo. They handed me the banjo, some of them did, and I tuned it up in this minor key, you see?
Or what do you call that key?
Lassie making tune, sawmill key.
Sawmill key.
Sawmill key. And this is what I played for him. Gonna build me a cabin on a mountain so high, so I can see Willie as he goes passing by. Oh, the cuckoo, she's a pretty bird. She wobbles and she flies. She never says cuckoo. Tell her who they July. I play in England. I play garden in Spain. I bet you $10. I beat you next game. Oh, she's a pretty bird. She wobbles, she flies, she never says cuckoo. telephone deep July.
We just had the most amazing family vacation.
Okay, we just had the most amazing family vacation. So we're going to move right along and do a little bit of history, but Clarence, if you'll notice, both of the tunes were very much similar. Just one was a little bit had some more instrumentation there. This music in that particular tune came over from the British Isles, and but they've really maintained a lot of their original integrity. And to think that there was no written music, it's all been passed down from family generation to family generation to family generation, and it's very it's great to see the young people preserving this music, and in some cases they're adding some instrumentation, adding their own interpretation of the music, but it's still our folk music. It's American folk music. Now then, here's our 90-second. Someone told me a long time, history, a little bit of history goes a long way. Well, I've got 400 years of history that I need to share with you right now, and I'm going to try to do it in 90 seconds, okay? Okay, there it is. And we don't have actually a pointer that I can use, but if you look on the far left, it shows the year 1600. And just to kind of put things into perspective, 1607 is the first mark. That's when Jamestown, Virginia was inhabited, and it was, some think, the first kind of permanent settlement in the United States. So 1607. Next, in 1619, the first slaves arrived at Jamestown. There were less than 50 of them, and there were only 100 or so of the inhabitants there. So a big part of the population there were slaves, and they were developing a tobacco crop that had not been used before, and they probably all worked in the tobacco harvesting. Again, just another perspective. 1620 is the next mark over, and that is when the Mayflower landed, Plymouth Rock. So that gives you some idea of when early Americans started showing up in greater numbers. Also, the Puritans, or the ones that came on the Pilgrim, did not bring any instruments. They were more vocal, and they thought the fiddle was an instrument of the devil. So unless you snuck one in, which I think I understand a few of them did, those instruments were not played in church and had to be played in where others would not know you were playing it. Okay, so let's establish that. That Jamestown was a British settlement, and then from this point on is when other immigrants came in. More slaves were brought into the United States, and other immigrants from Western Europe moved in. So if you go up to 1700, that's the next one, and then the next date of interest is Independence Day. That's when we had our Declaration of Independence. You move up to 1800. I'm moving along. I got to get 400 years in 90 seconds. And in the 1850s or so, banjos gained popularity. The African Americans, or the Africans that came over, had the early banjo type instrument. It was a gourd instrument with strings, but it was a banjo, and whether they brought those over or were permitted to bring those over, we don't know, but they could fabricate those once they were here, and I'm going to come back to this in a moment. In 1850, the modern guitar appeared, and from 1850 to 1900, medicine shows started traveling the country, where a musician would go along and try to sell some sort of concoction. Typically, it was mostly alcohol and something else. But and then the minstrel shows, which were one of the most popular forms of entertainment during that 50 or so years. The next date that I have on here is the 1920s, and to me that was the real turning point. I think I just ran out of time. Okay, we're going to come back to this, Paul, but I promised 90 seconds because you can just sit on the edge of your seat waiting for the conclusion of that history lesson.
Well, Charlie, you already said that storytelling and telling lies is part of the old-time tradition, so you go over 90 seconds.
I'm sorry. Right. Some of our stories are really old, and you were breaking up on my audio a little bit there. I'm not sure what that was all about.
If anyone has any more audio issues, don't hesitate to say something in the comments, and I'll see what I can do on this end. Everything's
Yeah.
great right now, but let
And
me know.
anything that I'll check my emails here too. Anybody that would like to send an email or question or comment to ARK Highlands Folk Project at gmail.com. I'll check into that here during the next little bit of music. Okay, let's see here. As you can probably tell, I don't have much of a script. I have a lot of notes that I wanted to share with you, but we're trying to keep this as informal and encourage you to ask those questions. The next, we're going to do this again as far as the same song played by two different groups. Now, both of these are modern groups. One is from the Oregon area, Portland, Oregon, and the other one is from Nashville, Tennessee. And they take a little different take on it. And this is one of the more rowdy old-time songs, and it always people really get a kick out of this one. What you see there is the Foghorn String Band, and the tune is Reuben's Train. The Foghorn String Band is made up of Caleb on the mandolin, Reed Williams is on the guitar, Nadine Landry is on the stand-up bass, and just watch her. She's so much fun to watch. She just kind of dances with that bass as she plays. And Sammy Lind on the fiddle. They're playing at in the middle of a citrus farm in California, not far nor in wine country of California. And David Bunn is one of the ones that has been another one who I called and asked him if I could use some videos that I saw online that were recorded at his farm. And he said, you can use everything you want, and I encourage you to do so. All I ask is that you try to have a tip jar for the musicians. So we're doing that tonight. But let's listen to this song. It's called Reuben's Train again. And listen to Caleb's first words as he just kind of introduces it. And it comes on pretty quickly, so pay attention.
Oh, Reuben had a train and he ran it in the rain. He couldn't get no letter from his home. Well, so me, oh Lord, in mine. Couldn't get no letter from his home. Oh, he ought to been uptown when Reuben's train rolled down. He'd hear that whistle blow 100 miles. 100 miles, 100 miles away from home. He'd hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, you ought to have been uptown when the police knocked him down. You'd hear that poor boy holler 100 miles. 100 miles, 100 miles away from home. You'd hear that poor boy holler 100 miles. Well, so me, oh Lord, I'm bound to get to heaven. Oh, now Reuben got killed on the C&O line, and his poor body's never been found. Oh, but they found his head in a driver's wheel, and a mile and a half from the Oh, y'all stop my razor blade, lay your ribbon in the shade, or I'll start a little graveyard of my own. It's so me, oh Lord, and mine, start a little graveyard of my Oh, you don't believe I'm right? You can follow me tonight. I'll show you what a poor boy can do. It's so me, oh Lord, and mine. I'll show you what a poor boy can do.
We hope we see you down there at the other big stage, all right? Thank y'all for listening to us.
This song goes out to Spotify. Hopefully there was...
I hear that train. I hear that train. Oh.
All right, dancers! Oh, there they go. Well, Reuben had his train and they put it on the track. You could hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, me, oh, Lord of mine. Hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Good Lord. Now Reuben had a wreck and he broke his train and left. Now he can't read a letter from his mom. Oh, me, oh, Lord of mine. He can't read a letter from his mom. Oh, Lord. When in the woods and I've got some coke and give me some. I believe, thank God I'm coming down. Oh, me, oh, Lord, and my God. I believe, thank God I'm coming down. Everybody say, oh, stop. I said, everybody say, oh,
stop. Oh, we're gonna get along just fine. I'm starting to graveyard of my own. Oh, me, oh, my. I'm starting to graveyard of my own. Somebody scream! I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna introduce these guys. Y'all want to meet these guys? Yeah! Okay, good, because you didn't have a choice anyway. Over there, playing that banjo. Y'all love the banjo? Yeah! I don't. But he's great at it. That is the American National Clawhammer Banjo Champion, Mr. Daniel Bingley. Oh. Next to him, oh man, can that boy fiddle? Everybody say, let me hear that fiddle! Go ahead, play him a little something, Kevin. Okay, that's enough out of you. That's Mr. Kevin Martin on the fiddle. Oh, and y'all want to meet this guitar player here? No? Okay, moving on. Oh, I'm just kidding. This guy right here, he's one of those fence guns, Mr. Gabriel K! I guess I get to introduce myself tonight. Oh, no. Well, ladies, I'm 37 years old. I like long walks on the beach, fika in the morning, and I want to go to Ibiza and party all night long. My name is Pickle. We're the Hog Slop String Band from Nashville, Tennessee. Touch the new guy! Thank you so much! We'll see y'all later tonight!
Okay, all righty. Hog Slop String Band. There's none other like it. I had to show the contrast. That's pretty much one end of the spectrum. Foghorn String Band is on the other end. Pickle there was playing a wash tub bass, and actually people do play that and play them very well. He uses his more as a prop. So anyway, they're great. They're and they are very popular. They are very popular right now, and a touring band when COVID's not going on.
Brianna said about finally someone wearing overalls.
Oh, say what now?
But Brianna said finally someone wearing overalls.
Oh, well, this is actually not overalls. Maybe it looks like overalls. Actually, Brianna got me a pair of overalls for Christmas, and I just hadn't had the courage to wear them in public. I sure like them at the house. Thank you, Brianna. Okay, where are we now?
Well, Lynn says it's been super informative and awesome entertainment, and she would love to hear you play, Charlie.
Okay, I have some good news and some bad news. I want this to be an educational program, and this is a banjo. And the good news, no, let's start with the bad news. The bad news is this is a banjo. The banjo is made sport of by every other musician. We tune a lot. It can be used as a weapon. There's just a lot of, it's pretty durable, and that's one reason it withstood the test of time during the late 1800s and people traveling. The good news, that's the bad news. The good news is I'm not going to play it. I know our ratings would go down immediately, but this is a banjo. It's a 5-string banjo. It sounds a little bit like this. Actually, it doesn't sound like that, but I'm not going to play it in any case. Now, so now the one thing you take away from this is a 5-string banjo. It has this 5th string here as opposed to a tenor banjo. Now, I want you to also learn a little bit about the fiddle. And this is the fiddle. And you saw some folks playing these regularly. This is the instrument that did come over from the British Isles. It was light enough, they could put it in a box. And so these instruments came over early. This was probably the first instrument of any substance that came over. It's 4-string. Actually, some of the new ones have a 5th string so they can reach a different note and extend their musical frame there. And this is the bow. Now, the one thing I want you to remember from this tonight, so you can go away knowing you learned something about the fiddle, is if you're ever with a fiddler and you're looking at his fiddle and his bow, do not touch the horsehair on the bow. Now, do not ask me how I know that, but they don't like it if you touch the horsehair on the bow. Your oil on your hand gets on it and it disrupts the tone. So just remember, the bow is off limits. The fiddle is the fiddle. Beautiful instrument. Okay. Now then. Door prizes. If you ask a question, you're eligible for a door prize. We're going to accumulate these. What goes better with old-time music than moonshine? And guess, believe it or not, we have a moonshine distillery. We don't call them stills anymore. It's a distillery. And they were kind enough to give us some T-shirts. Here's one here. They were actually, when COVID began, they started making hand sanitizer because there was none around, and stopped making moonshine for a period. Good place to eat. They have a banquet room. They also provided us some hats. So if you did comment, you're going to be eligible for a door prize. We're going to let those go over for the period of 1 or 2 sessions of our program. Okay, let's see, where are we? We got the hog. The next group is that actually it's someone sitting on their back porch playing. Her name is Hillary. She is one of the kindest folks you'll ever meet. She's from Ohio, but she goes to Cliff Top, which is a camp in West Virginia, held every year. It's been around over 30 years. I went year before last, and there's 3,600 old-time players. Not bluegrass, not country, old-time players. They're hardcore. They play pretty much 24 hours a day for 7 days on top of this obscure mountain called Cliff Top. Now then, this is Hillary's backyard. Every Sunday she has a jam with these friends of hers, and if you'll notice, they have heaters, and they're abiding by distancing and everything, as you will notice. They have little heaters there, but it's freezing out there. In fact, one of the sessions you can see snow piled up in the back. This shows just how hardcore they are. The tune they're going to play is Cold Frosty Morning, and I wanted to show you kind of how a jam works, because it starts, somebody will pick a tune and it starts kind of ragged, and then it goes on a little bit, and then everybody starts getting the feel for it, and by the time they finish, it's really a pretty cool tune. So if you will, go ahead and roll that one, Paul, and let's see how Hillary and her neighbors do. Okay, that was cold frosty morning. Hillary Burham's backyard deck on a 38-degree day in Ohio. One instrument that you hadn't seen before was in the kind of upper left. There's a banjo ukulele. It's about the size of a ukulele, but the head is built like a banjo. And if you'd noticed, he was really playing a percussive role there to keep the keep the tempo driving forward. And a lot of people that play ukuleles have transitioned over to that, so they can play with old-time music groups. Let's see, I think now we're going to go back and pick up the end of the famous Charlie's 90-second history of 400 years. Okay, we got to 1920. It's about the third mark over from the right with a lot of stuff at the top. To me, in Charlie's expert opinion, this is the turning point of old-time music. This is when old-time roots folk music, that's the intimate music that's played on porches and for barn dances and things like that, started going down. It's the decade when hillbilly country music recordings started going up, as did black African-American music and other ethnic music, whether it be Hungarian. Almost all the immigrants had their own music, and record companies started having music dedicated to the African-American audience and the various other ones, Hispanic audiences, and they turned out selling a lot of records, which at first they thought they would not. Why do I feel this is the turning point? Well, it's when recordings and the radio was invented. And from that point on, rather than having to know how to tune or play a banjo, all you had to do is know how to turn on a radio and tune it into a frequency, and the same way with recordings. Even then, the old flat disc 78 RPM recordings really took a hit on the old-time music. Then we move into the 30s, the Depression, and that pretty well wiped out music and everything else for a good 7 or 8 years. And then moving fast forward to 2020, and we get to 2021. Wow, that's all I can say. Now you can find any genre of music you want by Googling or going to YouTube. You can find old recordings like Clarence Ashley playing Cuckoo, or you can find brand new ones like you saw on Foghorn String Band and many of the others. If you're really interested in the history, the best representation I've seen is the Ken Burns video series, and it's called Country Music. And the library actually has a recorded version of this, and it's actually better than the book. It gives them more detail. This starts in the 1920s, really, and it actually has a little lead-in from old-time music, and it goes through current day, but it's a very telling story of the spirit of America and how the music has been so important to us all through the years. And getting back to my my little diagram here, we started in the early 1600s, and now we're in 2021. We've had 400 years for us to collaborate, and by that I mean the British Isles immigrants, the slaves from Africa, the other immigrants from wherever. We've had 400 years to collaborate, and I think that is why the entire world looks to the United States for popular music. There's nothing else like it anywhere. It's generated from all these sectors that have developed, but they all started back here to me in 1619, and as soon as folks started getting together, music is one thing that race and social status doesn't have nearly as much to do with as so many other things. Music is the voice of love and peace and fun and frolic. So that's my history lesson for tonight. And check out those resources at the Garland County Library to learn more about that. The two groups that we wanted to have on tonight was, of course, Jenny and Tom from Mountain View, and Love Holler, another group. Actually, they've played on this stage behind me before. We had technical difficulties also with those videos, so we're going to try to get all that straightened out and share those with you next month. In the meantime, the tip jar. If you can, please drop $1 or $2 in there. We're going to let it accumulate, and then we're going to actually discuss with the musicians. Some have already said, we're doing okay. There's others that aren't. Let anything that I'm do go to whoever needs it. So that's kind of our philosophy there. Again, tomorrow night, Mary Zunick on the Sister City program at 6 o'clock, right on the same spot you're on now. And we sure wish you would give us some comments. If there is any audio or video problems, let us know so we can try to run that down so our future performance will be up to par. We want you to enjoy it. Until next time, Paul, do you have anything else? From me, I'm saying good night.
Well, that's all I have for now. I dropped the PayPal link right there in the comments, so if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, either live or weeks from now, it'll be there for you to access. And let's tell them about when the next program is.
Well, next program is it'll be on the 23rd.
The last Tuesday in February. That's right, the 23rd.
The last Tuesday in February, 6 o'clock. We're going to pick up a little bit where we left off. However, we are going to include some special guest video. Next month, February, is Black History Month, and I have one interview with a young lady who's been in the music business. She does everything from old time, which she's very passionate about. She's also very passionate about recognizing African Americans and all the contributions that they have made to music through the years. And also we have another young man who's going to have an interview with us as well that's kind of talking about the same thing. But when I was talking about the 400 years here, the African Americans have not received a lot of credit until recently, and so many musicians are coming forward and mentioning what a strong impact in the early 20th century, how much impact they had on developing the music that has grown into so much that we all appreciate today. So hope you will join us next month. We'll get some emails out to you to kind of give you a preview of what we're going to do. Again, if you want to get on our email list so you know what's going on, just send an email that says count me in, and send it to ARK Highlands, plural, Folk Project at gmail.com. It's not case sensitive, so it can just all be lowercase. Paul, I think that may be all I have, unless you can come up with something else we should share.
Well, I don't know. Did you want to have one more song to end with?
You know, I think I want to save it till next month, if we can. We've had a good run here, and again, if you email me, I will eventually get together a list of all the performers, and if you want to find out more about them, I'll put their websites and contact information so you can learn more about any of the performers from tonight.
All right, well, thank you everybody for watching and tuning in to this and the next one in February and any other library programs. And thank you so much, Charlie, for doing all this research and being a great MC and host tonight. You're getting a lot of great.
It's my pleasure. And one of my selfish goals is I sure would like to find some folks here in Hot Springs that want to learn to play fiddle or the guitar and play old time style, so I'll have someone to play with here. And from our last year's performances, one lady bought a fiddle and is taking lessons, old time specific lessons, and my gosh, she's coming along great. So Sharon, out there wherever you are, you're doing good, and I hope I get to play with you again sometime.
All right, and one more thing, if anybody watching wants to have Charlie play next time, let us know. Got to pressure him in. Well,
I tell you what, I would play if someone would put like a $500 tip in, and that's it, and they would never want to hear me play again. Ever. And I don't count as a musician, so I don't get any of the tip jar.
So you have to pay them to listen to you.
That's pretty much the case, yeah. Yeah, no, we have, that's one thing about the community is when I started, and I was horrible, and I'm a little better now, but I mean, they were the most encouraging bunch, and I was playing with some people who've been playing for 30 years, and I know I was a drag on them, and they were all so kind, and I have fallen in love with the genre, the community, and I can't wait. I've already signed up to go back to Clifftop next year, and or excuse me, this year. And we're gonna have some video from Clifftop also next month that will show you what this mob of 36,000 old-time music lovers do for fun.
All right. Well, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a good night. Be safe, and see you next month.
Good night. Thank you.